The deadly affection of Janet's past. I need to tell you a chilling true story that happened to someone very close to my family. Due to the sensitive nature of this tale, I won't mention the location or the real names involved. But let's call the central figure of this tale Janet. And trust me, by the end, you'll understand why secrecy is paramount. Now, Janet was the best friend of my mother back in high school. Both were inseparable, often mistaken for sisters due to their uncanny resemblance and tight bond. Their friendship was the stuff of legends, and like all young girls, they shared dreams, secrets, and sometimes boyfriends. Well, not intentionally, of course. Years later, during one of our family gatherings, after a couple of glasses of wine and a nostalgic mood setting in, Janet shared a story from her past that gave everyone the chills. A story that still haunts her, and by extension, our entire family. Back in high school, Janet fell head over heels for a guy named Tom, a new student with dark, brooding eyes and an enigmatic aura. He was a tall, muscular figure with raven black hair and a charm that was impossible to resist. While Tom's mysterious demeanor drew many admirers, Janet was the lucky one, or so she thought. After dating for a few months, the infatuation began to wear off, and certain alarming patterns emerged. Tom had a morbid fascination with violent movies, often asking Janet to rewatch gory scenes. He had a strange obsession with knives, collecting them and even gifting one to Janet on her birthday. Despite these quirks, young love blinded Janet, and she shrugged them off as mere eccentricities. But one day, Janet stumbled upon a shoebox under Tom's bed. Curiosity got the better of her, and she peeked inside. It was filled with clippings of unsolved murders and missing women from different states. Horrified, she confronted Tom. He dismissed it, claiming it was for a school project on unsolved crimes. Naively, she believed him. Months went by and Tom's behavior grew increasingly erratic. One night, after an argument, he violently grabbed her, his fingers digging deep into her arm, leaving bruises that lasted weeks. It was a wake-up call. Janet ended the relationship and decided to move on, but Tom wouldn't let her go. Fast forward a couple of years, my mother and Janet went off to different colleges but remained in touch. It was during a winter break that Janet returned to their hometown, only to bump into Tom again. He looked different, more menacing. His once magnetic eyes now had a cold, distant look. Tom, feigning politeness, invited her for coffee. To avoid a scene, she reluctantly agreed. Over coffee, Tom spoke about his travels, subtly mentioning places that matched the locations of the clippings Janet had seen. The realization hit her hard. She felt trapped, unable to escape the cafe and his cold gaze. Noticing her discomfort, Tom leaned in, whispering, "You know, Janet, you're special. I've kept an eye on you. You'll always be mine." Fear gripped her as she remembered the shoebox and its implications. Desperate to escape, Janet excused herself to the restroom, from where she called my mother, voice quivering, narrating the whole incident. My mom, ever the protective friend, instructed Janet to leave the cafe from the back door immediately and head straight to her place. Reaching my mom's house, both women bolted the doors, keeping the lights off, and hid in the bedroom. An hour or so later, the eerie silence was broken by the sound of footsteps crunching on the gravel outside. A shadow loomed on the window pane. Tom was there, peering inside, searching for Janet. Terrified, they called the police, who arrived shortly after. But Tom was nowhere to be found. The next morning, the local newspaper carried a chilling report. Another woman had gone missing from the next town. The modus operandi eerily matched the clippings from Tom's shoebox. Janet, realizing the gravity of the situation, approached the police with her findings. An investigation was launched. Days turned into weeks with no trace of Tom. But one evening, the police made a breakthrough. In a remote cabin deep in the woods, they found the missing woman's body and, chillingly, a wall plastered with pictures of Janet, dating back from their high school days to recent times. Tom had been stalking Janet for years, documenting her every move. But what was more terrifying was the discovery of a diary detailing his plans. He intended to make Janet his final victim, a grand finale to his twisted spree. Thankfully, the evidence was enough to launch a nationwide manhunt. Weeks later, Tom was apprehended in another state, attempting to charm another unsuspecting victim. He was convicted for multiple murders and received multiple life sentences without the possibility of parole. Janet understandably was traumatized. She moved overseas, changed her identity, and cut ties with everyone, including my mother, in an attempt to leave the past behind. Years have passed since that fateful winter. But every time there's a knock on the door or an unknown number flashes on my mom's phone, she's taken back to that horrifying night, praying it's not another echo from Janet's deadly past.